Ty, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, I think that kind of concludes this morning's session. But, sitting there, and I just instinctively grabbed my wife's hand. And as Ty was making those remarks, my shoulders started to drop. Posture started to go down. I looked at Melissa, and I started getting smaller and smaller. And it made me think about Atlas holding the world up, right? And that Atlas did not shrug. And not that I'm Atlas at all, but the reason why we're able to do all of that work is because of all of you. We held that up together. And we're holding up our district together. We're holding up our students and families together. It reminded me of a quote by General Colin Powell, who said, "Children represent 40% of our population and 100% of our future." Right? Yes. Now, we're grateful, Ty, that you answered the call from Alan. And I want to take a moment to thank the Lexington Bluegrass Association of Realtors and the Mortgage Bankers Association as well for sponsoring this event. Also want to add my acknowledgments to those table sponsors for helping to make the first annual State of Schools possible. So here, we're less than about 10 minutes into the program, and I'm in awe by the talent that has graced the stage before me. Jenny and Luke, I want to thank you for sharing your talents with us this morning and for getting up so early. Yes, early during your summer vacation. I want to ask you to please join me in thanking them again, as well as their families, their parents that brought them here. Now, as you arrived this morning, I hope you had a chance to look at the students' artwork displayed in the lobby and in the ballroom. These are 14 pieces of student artwork that's been selected for the 2017-18 Family Calendar and Handbook. The talent of our Fayette County Public Schools students and the teachers who help them cultivate those gifts is truly incredible. We wanted to give you a glimpse of this morning. In fact, even the centerpieces, if you notice them on your tables, the floor arrangements were done by the horticulture department at Locust Trace Agri-Science Center. And some of the FFA leaders from Locust Trace are here this morning, helping as greeters, and let's give them a round of applause as well. Now, Ty has already introduced our elected officials this morning, but I want to add my own words of appreciation. First, to the 5 current members of the Fayette County Board of Education, and to our former school board member who's here with us this morning, Amanda Ferguson. Could you please stand? And she's a realtor now, but I want to recognize her as well. Where's Amanda? Now, I often say that top-performing school districts are led by peak-performing boards, and we are fortunate in Fayette County to have people of their caliber leading our work. And I also want to acknowledge the late, great John Price, who was the board chair and part of the original 5 that hired me. John and I, was a mentor to me. We both battled cancer together. We talked often about that battle. And the last conversation that I had with John was February 2016. And I was in Phoenix at a superintendent's conference. And John had called, and reflecting back, I know why he called at that time. But at the moment, I really didn't know the why. And we had a conversation. And if you have a conversation with me, and as John would often do, he would inspire me, get me encouraged, light that fire once again. And I don't think he could get a word in edgewise during our conversation. But he did get through as I was talking to him about the future and what we were setting out to do, what was possible here in Fayette County. And John said, Manny, you may have to do it without me. Right. And I said, no, John, I'm going to do it for you. And so that's part of the work and part of this journey was for him. And as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, life's most urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Now, I can tell you honestly today that our current board, along with Amanda and John, their actions, they are truly committed as public servants and leaders in the true sense of the definition. Now, most school boards in the state of Kentucky meet once a month, but our board holds regular meetings twice a month, special called meetings, work sessions, and board retreats. They have shown a willingness to put students first in every decision and to place the team before self. It is an honor to serve alongside of you. Let's give them a hand collectively. I also want to add this morning my words of welcome to Mayor Gray for his leadership and partnership, and for One Lexington. We're going to strive towards that goal in partnership with you, to our city council members and our state senators and representatives here this morning. Your commitment to collaboration and support for Fayette County Public Schools is unlike any I've seen anywhere. And in Lexington, you don't have to convince people to work together for the good of our children. One of our core district values is that it takes an entire community to ensure the success of our public schools. And we are blessed to see daily in our schools your actions and your efforts. Now, there's an energy in Lexington that you don't feel in other communities. People are invested, they're interested in education, here like I've never seen before. Roughly 90% of the school-aged children who live in Fayette County attend our public schools. And everywhere I go, I meet people who want to help them succeed. And as I look out in this room this morning, I see that many of you are here. Our business partners, our faith leaders, our community advocates, our nonprofit organizations, our government representatives, and our family engagement champions are here, just as you are whenever our students need you. Please join me in showing our appreciation for the work that you do. Now, I want to thank you for giving your time and talents to help ensure that each child reaches his or her unlimited potential. Another core value in our district is students first. So, of course, we also have students here with us this morning for this momentous event. I'd like to ask the members of the superintendent's student voice team to stand up for a moment and be recognized. Yes. I want to thank you for taking the time this morning during summer vacation to be here. The last group of people that I want to thank before I begin my remarks are the Fayette County Public School employees, as I call it, FCPS family, that are with us today. Yes. We have a broad cross-section of our family here in this room, representing every facet of our system at the school and district level. The men and women I serve alongside in this district are the most talented and committed individuals that you will ever meet, and they approach their work as a calling to make a difference in the lives of our children. One of my favorite quotes is from a 40-year veteran teacher named Rita Pearson, and she said, "Every child deserves a champion, an adult who would never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the very best that they can possibly be." I stand before you today as a living testimony to the truth in her statement. Now, I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. That city in 2014, December 2014 Newsweek issue, was crowned Murder Town, USA, because of its repeat appearances on the FBI's annual list of most violent cities in this country. But that's what happens in a community filled with hopelessness and despair. That's the environment I grew up in, and my extended family still lives in. As a child born in the last century, I love to say that to my students, right? I lived in Compton public housing, so I can legitimately tell you that I was straight out of Compton. In the aftermath of school desegregation, inner city students were bused out to formerly all-white schools for 9 years, grades K through 3 and 7 through 12, and white students were bused into formerly all-black schools in grades 4 through 6. The term school-to-prison pipeline was more than just a catchphrase to me. We saw it daily, and we saw it often. Now, as an educator, well, I became an educator because an educator changed my life. And when I interact with men and women who work in Fayette County Public Schools, I see the teacher who believed in me before I believed in myself. I see the cafeteria ladies who fed me, the bus driver who gave me books to read on the bus on my way to school, the principal who opened up his school to kids in the neighborhood after school and on the weekends to show us positive values that were counter to the negative images that we saw on a daily basis in our community, and the custodian who told me that I should go to college because I couldn't make it in that line of work. That was some great career advice. In the employees of Fayette County Public Schools, I see the people who changed my life, and I know they are changing the lives of the students we serve. Once again, let's recognize, I'm going to ask them to stand up this time. Fayette County Public Schools family, please stand up to be recognized. Now, I'd like to start us off this morning by introducing to you the current state of the Fayette County Public Schools. Please turn your attention to the screens. All right. Yes, yes. That video is a reflection of your work. Now, it tells you that we're definitely headed in the right direction in Fayette County. But in order to understand how momentous the work and accomplishments are to date, I'm going to take you back to exactly 2 years ago. Now, some of you may recall that my wife and I were newlyweds and on our honeymoon when we received the call and we came here for the interview straight from, yes, oh, wow, 2 years, St. Lucia, okay? St. Lucia. I just wanted to see if you remember. And anybody wondered, 2 years, the anniversary gift is cotton. So just that's top of mind for me. All right. Now, as we came down the escalator at Bluegrass Airport, we were greeted by 24 students, employees, community members, board member, Melissa Bacon at the time, cheering and holding signs, welcoming us to Lexington. And we felt like we were home. The next day, the district sponsored a community reception, and hundreds of people came out to welcome us. The receiving line wound around the lobby and out of the building at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. And we were amazed that so many people would take time out of the summer to come and talk to us about their hopes and dreams for the future of Fayette County Public Schools. On June 27, 2015, I was honored to be selected as the servant superintendent. Now, I say servant not because we're all public servants. I understand that. I say servant because my faith guides my work. Now, this picture is of the Fayette County Board of Education members who hired me, the original 5 as I call it. It was snapped while they were FaceTiming me to offer me the job. Yes. Hopefully you still smile like that today, right? I hope that smile's still there. Same intensity. When the board called to offer me the position, I was actually sitting in the car at home, and I was taking my children to go see Jurassic World. And it was my first promise as a father to my children, Sierra and Sydney. I arrived in Lexington in August, and we kicked off the school year with the first annual Fayette County Public Schools Employees Family Reunion. Woohoo! With 7,564 employees. Fayette County is the second largest employer in Fayette County, but because we are spread out across 66 schools and programs, we rarely see one another. The reunion, which was paid for entirely by donations from the community, was a wonderful opportunity for our employees and team members to come together and set a positive tone and culture for the start of the new school year. On the first day of school, I hopped on a school bus to read with some students on the way to Mary Todd. That day, I visited 6 elementary schools, and this photo was taken at Lafayette High School, where a football player taught me a lesson on high expectations, goal, and focus. Now, you can drive down Main Street here in Lexington, and you see the Chamber of Commerce, and you see all statistics, positive statistics, and the work that they're doing and accomplishments. Let me tell you what this student told me about expectations. I was in the cafeteria at Lafayette, where my daughter now attends, be a rising senior, talking with a young man who was a junior on a Lafayette football team. Now, being new to the state, but remember, former superintendent, I was a high school principal, right? Passionate about football. The student, I asked him how many games that they would play this season. And without hesitation, he responded, 15. Let that sink in for a minute. He said 15. Now, and again, being a former high school principal, understanding college and NFL, you only play 16 games in NFL, 10 in college. And I'm bewildered, and I'm looking at him, like, how are you playing 15 in high school, right? And he looked at me and could tell that I was puzzled. And he responded, "You play 15 games a season. There's only 2 schools that do that. Those are the 2 schools that are playing for the state championship." Think about that, right? And this was in August. And he already knew that that's where his team would be. That's expectations. They had not yet played a single game, but this young man had his sights set on making it to the championship game. And let me tell you, in fact, Lafayette that year played 15 games. Yes, they did. They did. Right? Now, I already shared with you 2 of our district core values. Students first, and it takes an entire community to ensure the success of our public schools. Another one of our core values is that victory is in the classroom. Now, I understand we're avid sports fans here, I understand that. But since moving to Lexington, I discovered that this community has high expectations when it comes to athletics, particularly on the basketball court. So please forgive me when I say that while winning on the field or on the court is optional, but where victory is not optional, where victory is non-negotiable, is that every child must experience success in the classroom. And we must make sure of that. Now, one of the first things I did when I joined the community was to become familiar with the history here. Although the U.S. Supreme Court in 1954 desegregated our schools, schools in Lexington remained segregated, especially in Fayette County, until 4 parents sued the school district in 1971. A federal judge ordered the integration of the schools. And that was more than 4 decades ago, and we still are working on delivering on that promise of equity and excellence for each and every student. Now, last year I had the opportunity to meet the student who helped integrate the schools, Ms. Helen Case Wade. Lafayette High School, under the leadership of Principal Jacobs, brought her back as part of the Black History Month culminating event. It was the first time that she visited Lafayette High School since going there in the 70s. And she was amazed by the diversity and the change at Lafayette and how welcomed she was. And so really, that's what this story is about. It's about ensuring that we have diverse and equitable schools, schools that work for each and every child. Now, did you know last year in America, less than 0.1% of students who took the ACT scored a perfect 36? Well, in Fayette County, we had 11 students who scored a perfect score last year. That's right. That's more than 4 times the national average. Now, did you know that although our district accounts for less than 6% of the students in the state, we have nearly 25% of the state's National Merit semifinalists, Governor Scholars, and Governor Scholars for the Arts participants. Yes, that deserves an applause as well. Our district has 6 national blue ribbon schools, a trademark of excellence and a symbol of quality noted by everyone from parents to policymakers. We also have 4 national green ribbon schools, selected for exemplary efforts to reduce environmental impact and utility costs, promote better health, and ensure effective environmental education, including civics and green career pathways. We have world-class offerings in our district and a caliber of education that you simply do not find in most communities. We offer orchestra instruction for elementary students starting in 4th grade and band in 5th grade. Our Spanish immersion program has been designated as an immersion Spanish academy by the Consulate of Spain. We were the first school district in North America to be named an exemplary Confucius classroom by the Chinese Ministry of Education. Several years ago, a report commissioned by Commerce Lexington to examine the quality of life in Fayette County found that there were two Lexingtons. There were Lexington, where opportunities abound and quality of life is excellent, and another where economic struggles are real and community services were inadequate. Schools are a reflection of the communities, and we serve a similarly parallel truth in our schools. As more and more of our Fayette County students' enrollment has skyrocketed, our school district has grown by approximately 700 students each year, going from 34,000 approximately about 10 years ago to well over 41,000 today. Student enrollment is becoming more diverse. We have students from around the world. In fact, in just 5 weeks, in January 2017, we enrolled 181 new English language learners into our schools. You'll see the demographics on the slide. This is just a snapshot of the diversity of our students. Our 2016-17 enrollment as of October, when figures were prepared. Growth has brought with it opportunities, but also new challenges for our district. As many children carry heavy burdens to school with them, including poverty, homelessness, or shelter insecurity, food insecurity, and language barriers. As our district has grown from 35,000 students to a district of more than 41,000 students, the percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch has gone from 41% to 54%. Today, we're serving roughly 7,800 students in poverty who are living in poverty in families than we did 10 years ago. This slide shows you a snapshot of the students we served last year. And the next slide gives you a sense of how our enrollment is divided between preschool, elementary, middle, and high school. And based on our registration for the fall, we believe our numbers will continue to grow. Now let's take a look at our employees. Here's a look at the breakdown of our employees. As you can see, our largest group of employees are our teachers, followed by our pool of substitutes. Our next largest group is our paraeducators. And as you can see, we roughly have one paraeducator for every, or 4 paraeducators for every 1 teacher. Or, said it wrong. 1 paraeducator for every 4 teachers. The dollars are clearly being spent in the classroom. Now, you may not be surprised to know that our next largest group of employees are our bus drivers and bus monitors. It takes a lot of people to get our students from and to school safely. And that school bus is a child's first learning environment. Last year, our buses traveled nearly 2.4 million miles, which is the equivalent of 96 times around the earth. I won't read all the numbers to you because the infographic is included on page 3 of the 2016-17 annual report that is placed in front of you. We hope you'll take both the annual report and the strategic plan with you to read at your leisure and to share with someone who wasn't able to be here this morning. Then about 6 weeks before I was hired in 2015, our district received a stern letter from the former Kentucky Education Commissioner, Commissioner Holliday. And he warned that Fayette County Public Schools face state action if immediate and significant changes were not made. Several causes for alarm were cited in his letter, and he told the school board that they should make all candidates aware of the concerns regarding a lack of capacity at the district level, because Fayette County needs a superintendent and a local board of education that is focused on these equity issues. And we cannot allow for students, as you saw the demography, to equal a child's destiny. The racial disparities have been an issue in Fayette County Public Schools going back to 1972. 10 years later, the Lexington Human Rights Commission released its report charging the district had failed to correct racial imbalance. In 1985, a school district study found black students in Fayette County were more likely than whites to be placed in special education classes, punished and suspended from school, and less likely to be placed in gifted programs. Now, over the years, many groups have been formed to study achievement disparities and make recommendations to the school board, including a 1988 Equality in Education Task Force, a 1993 Equity Task Force that led to the establishment of the Equity Council in 1994, and the 2002 One Community, One Voice Blue Ribbon Panel. The 1988 Equality in Education Task Force report I keep in my top drawer in my office and look at and refer to it often. Now, while we recognize and honor the work that has gone on in the past, the letter that Commissioner Holliday wrote in 2015 made it clear that the issues have not been resolved. When I was hired, your school board made it clear that they expected action. And for 2 years, one of the first things that I've done each and every morning is to read that letter. That helped me keep those priorities front and center for our students and for our families. In August, I launched my Listening, Learning, and Leading Entry Plan, which included visits to every school and special program in the district, review documents, analyze data, receive stakeholder input. And just a few weeks into my tenure, doctors discovered that I had stage 4 malignant tumor in my sinus cavity. I underwent an 18-hour surgery to remove it. The amazing team of medical professionals at the University of Kentucky, Markey Cancer Center, can't thank them enough. They successfully removed the entire tumor, and after 6 weeks of radiation and chemo, I was cancer-free. Now, I call that, yes. I call that time in my life my blessing in the bluegrass. Before moving here, I knew that Lexington was the horse capital of the world, the Athens of the West. That's correct, right? But I didn't know it was also the allergy capital of the world as well. Now, I'm confident that God's hand brought our family here, because I had not come here, I probably wouldn't have had such an excellent outcome. My allergies flared up, and my team stepped up and supported me through that period. So I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for your prayers, your notes of encouragement, texts, emails, and phone calls to keep my spirits lifted during that time. So I want to thank you. I also want to thank my pastor, Pastor C.B. Akins, and his wife, Roz. Pastor was with me on September 9th when I was in emergency and didn't know why, and shepherded me through that particular season. Was there for me and provided that spiritual strength. And as I often say, as the prayers go up, those blessings come down. So thank you, Pastor. Now, healing is a very personal journey, but each of you had a hand in carrying me through that battle. Although I had to curtail my public appearances, work continued on an entry plan with surveys, curriculum audits, organizational and structural reviews. Over the course of 8 months, I heard from over 7,800 stakeholders, including employees, students, parents, and community members, through one-on-one meetings and listening sessions and surveys. What I learned was that Fayette County has outstanding educators, committed staff serving an informed and passionate community that demands excellent schools that effectively serve all of our students. But what we needed were high-quality systems and structures and processes and execution that aligned to the vision of schooling. In May 2016, I unveiled the blueprint for student success, achieving educational excellence and equity for all. Over 100 strategies were outlined, and we implemented those strategies during the 2016-17 school year. We made immediate changes in staffing levels, instructional strategies, student support, professional learning, leadership development, and district operations. Some of our work is included, and we'll go through some of the slides here to really underscore what we did. We added college and career coaches at every high school to make sure that every child graduates prepared for college and career and life in a global society. Now, you can talk to you can talk to post-secondary, and they tell you the need to have students college ready. You can talk to business leaders. They talk about the need to have students career ready. Well, Fayette County, they mean the same thing. There's no distinction. Our students should graduate college and career ready. We've also provided PSAT for all 9th and 10th graders. That allows students to be identified for advanced placement, some of the most rigorous courses we offer, as well as to be identified for national merit. And in addition to that, allows students the tools to use the Khan Academy, which is a free online instructional program to improve their skills. We provided $6.4 million to ensure that students have a guaranteed and viable curriculum in English language arts for the first time ever in Fayette County. And we know student mobility is high. Students and families are moving throughout our great community. Those students will have the same opportunity across the system and the same learning experiences because we have one guaranteed and viable curriculum. We also did the same for math across the county. Students who are taking algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 will have the same experience. And that's a significant investment by our school board for the first time ever. We implemented summer programs, actually this summer, across 21 schools with the help of our community partners like the YMCA of Central Kentucky to expand learning opportunities to students who need it most. And if you tune in on Wednesday mornings at 10:30, 93.9, you'll hear radio personality Mr. Ramon Rodriguez reading to students a book in English and Spanish, the same book, for our families. And I encourage you to listen in for this summer as we promote summer reading. We launched a new teacher induction, the first time ever, in partnership with the Fayette County Education Association to provide a pathway for our new teachers to grow and develop their skills. We also did the same for our leaders with an executive leadership program in partnership with FCASA, the Fayette County Administrator Association. We opened a professional learning center that offers professional development for our teachers and staff during the evening. And of course, we launched our first ever Superintendent's Leadership Institute. And you see examples of there noted. We increased the number of talented teachers working with our students who have special needs, our students who are English language learners, and our students who are gifted and talented. We designed and launched a district and school scorecards. We implemented a focus on classroom instruction this year to make sure that we were living in our classrooms and not just living in our schools. We opened 2 new elementary schools, Coventry Oak and Garrett Morgan, each with a price tag of about $15 million, that serve over 1,100 students. And you can see that represented as well. We developed the district's first ever strategic plan, drawing on input from over 18,000 stakeholders and 6 external reviews to determine the focus and efforts of our district and what success looks like by 2021. And I can tell you that every great journey begins with that first step. We all know that quote. This is that first step. We produced over 37,000 family learning guides in 7 languages, so our families are informed as what a child needs to know and be able to do at each grade level. We established and launched Family University to engage our families. And if you look in the strategic plan, you'll see a portrait of a graduate. That came from our families. What is it they wanted for their child? We partnered through First 5 Lex to support school readiness, established that. We initiated our Give 10 in partnership with United Way. And I want to encourage each of you to give up to 10 hours a month to volunteer in our schools, to make a difference in a child's life. We worked with community groups to begin to look at issues of our students and families in crisis and our neighborhoods in distress. And some of those partners are here. We partner with Community Action Council. We're partnering with the Urban League and with Lexington Urban County government as well to make a difference, to strengthen our neighborhoods and support our families. We received a $600,000 grant from the Keenan Charitable Trust Foundation to begin to impact our students and boys of color. All this work came to fruition this spring when the Kentucky Department of Education conducted its 4th and most exhaustive audit of the district in as many years and concluded that Fayette County Public Schools has demonstrated capacity to lead future improvements. Yes, that's 4 years. And I'm going to tell you what Pastor Gaines told me when I saw him that day going back into central office. He said, Manny, let that victory lead to more victories. So more victories are coming, I can assure you of that. Now, it would normally take a district our size 3 years to accomplish what we did, pretty much in 2, really 1 if you count the 6 months that I was battling cancer. But to do the change that we know is possible, to fulfill that vision that's in our strategic plan, it's going to take 5 to 7 years. And we need to stay committed. I don't have to tell you that. You wouldn't be here if you weren't committed. I want to thank you for your efforts today, and thank you in advance for that same effort and energy for tomorrow. To ensure this success is sustainable, the board hired a firm to craft a strategic plan, which you'll see copies of it right there on the table in front of you. We want you to take that with you. Now, once a draft framework was established, our core strategic planning team of employees and families and key stakeholders provided input in refining it. Some of the highlights of the plan include first ever equity statement. The board defined what does equity mean. The plan affirmed the mission and vision of the school district and established excellence as the expectation. For the first time, our district now has a shared definition of equity that our community can embrace and support. The Fayette County Board of Education also formally adopted a portrait of a graduate to answer this question: what are the qualities that we want for every Fayette County student? We looked at that, and we know with increasing diversity in a global society, what are the qualities that's going to prepare a student to be a leader in that future? This vision developed the dream of our families that shared on December 10th what they wanted for their children. And it sets our sights beyond just test scores. It focuses on how we equip our students for the future. Now let's take a look at this year's graduates.
My class, today's the day. We've been waiting for this for so long, and it has finally come.
This is a very small milestone for us, and we have many more obstacles to overcome. But this moment right here, we have to enjoy.
I'm thinking about what will happen in the next few seconds, minutes, hours, months that turn into years. We're in the moment, right here, right now.
From this moment on, we will be faced with the opportunities and responsibilities of a type of independence we have never known before. That with the responsibility and pressure of graduating comes independence and the most opportune time of your life to figure out who you are.
A diamond is formed about 100 miles deep within the earth, where the combination of heat and pressure is necessary for the diamond crystal to form. I compare each one of us to a precious diamond. One may say on the surface we render no value. We're a little rough around the edges or a bit unpolished. But when we dig the extra 100 miles within, endure the right amount of amplified heat and relentless pressure, we develop into valued gemstones.
Under that common room cap and gown is a unique person on the brink of adulthood. That person has faced hardships or overcome them and grown into someone uniquely beautiful and irreplaceable. That person is you. Appreciate yourselves, class of 2017. Appreciate your hard work and accomplishments. Love yourselves, and your love for life will continue to blossom. You have experienced great changes and will continue to do so, but stay amazed of the you that you have become.
Do not be hesitant when something is thrown your way. Snatch up every opportunity and approach it with the same go big mindset that we do now. If you have a vision or a unique idea, act on it and make it into a reality.
Saying goodbye to high school, say hello to a new adventure.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, while a child's first formal education begins the day, While a child's first formal education begins the first day they enter kindergarten, their journey begins the day a child enters the world. By the time they enroll in school, disparities already exist. Going back to my first day of school here in Fayette County, at one school I visited, the staff had greeted a kindergarten student who walked in the door excited, but whose family had not registered the child for school. The student did not have any school supplies. The student had a hard time even telling us his name. Fortunately, there's another student that rode that bus that told us who that child's name. We were able to backtrack and find the family and bring them in to get the child registered and go through the process to enroll. Contrast that with the second day of school for me. I met a kindergarten student, and because of the experience, that interaction with that child on the first day, I was deliberate. I sought out a kindergarten student, and I tried to use kid-friendly language to ask the student, how do you know you're supposed to be in kindergarten? Like, how do you say that, right? But somehow I pushed through, and the student looked at me, and eyes open wide, that bright smile, said, because I graduated preschool. Yes. That's what he said. But it tells you again that half of our students are coming to school not prepared for kindergarten. And those disparities exist when they enter the schoolhouse gate. In Fayette County Public Schools, we are committed to helping every student reach his or her unlimited potential. That begins with helping them to discover their unique strengths and talents and giving them the experiences they need to connect those passions to their future calling. Now, I can't snap my fingers and make it happen. You know, I told my leadership team that Superman's not coming through that door, although I did come here with my car from Maine with the place that did say Superman. Different meaning, though. But the super friends are already here and doing this work, and we need to do it together. Our schools can provide early learning experiences to ensure that every child comes to school ready to learn. Our schools can't do that. But you know what? Together, we can. Our cafeterias cannot serve enough breakfasts and lunches to fill the tummies of our children who go home to empty cupboards. But together, we can. School guidance counselors can't meet the extreme mental health needs of our students who are in trauma, but together, we can. School librarians can't put enough books into the hands of our children or create community of readers that encourages them to read instead of watch television or play video games. But together, we can. Teachers and principals can't close the opportunity and achievement gaps alone. But together, we can, together, we must, and together, we will. Thank you.